It all started out with one of my music Facebook friends, Karen Griffin, posting on December 2021 a humorous one-liner on Facebook titled "These are difficult times," with a picture of 3 time signatures: 7/16, 11/8 and 13/8. I took this as a musical challenge. Yay! This spawned another work in progress composition titled "Difficult Times," started December 2021, where all 3 of these time signatures were used. "Difficult Times" was almost completed except for the first section and was set aside for several months, only to be picked up again March 2022. To get in the swing of things, I inserted a piano section and began experimenting, along with a few drum trials, and before I knew it, 4 and a Bit was born, with a very different flavour to Difficult Times. So this is behind the scenes of my music composition 4 and a Bit, covering the challenges of working with unusual time signatures. How do you count in 17/16? Also goes into the video production, where a video synthesizer was created in Ableton Live and Max of evolving fractal images driven from MIDI notes and continuous controllers. I suggest you have a listen to the full music production of 4 and a Bit before continuing. 4 and a Bit features the 7/16 time signature, that is 4 groups of 4/16 plus 1/16, hence the title 4 beats and a bit, 16th note. Then on the 18th of March 2022, after coming home from dinner, my son Zachary was playing some drum and bass genre from his favourites collection on Spotify, and I suggested I give that genre a go. I could not resist, so experimented with some bass. First originally used in Difficult Times, then a plucked double bass, then from Ableton Live collection, the classic synth bass. Okay, this sounds better. I then changed the dials and thought, perfect, let's jam out. Contrasting between the bass and drums and the piano and drums. Zachary had to listen to a rough draft and at first thought, there's something off here. I explained, have a look at the time signature, it's 17/16. Zachary replied, oh, I understand. Listening some more, he then said, okay, I'm into it now, keep it. As you might have gathered, I'm a great fan of Ableton Live. It just suits my improvisation style. Initial ideas are tried out in the session view, collecting various clips, then automating the sequence in which they appear, which then gets recorded into the arrangement view, ready for further refinements. How do you count in a time signature of 17/16 at a tempo of 120 beats per minute? Count 17 1/16 notes? Maybe not. No, that's not going to work. By the way, when I composed 4 and a Bit, I did not count in 7/16. I just wrote the drum part first, using it as a guide, then improvised the layers from there, using my ear, feeling the vibe and going with the flow. So perhaps examining ways to count in 7/16 was an academic exercise, but for me an interesting one. I suppose you could technically conceive a counting scheme to count in 7/16, but for me it is more about what the listener hears as the groove, and this is what I heard. slowed down, a human could count this. Another option would be a Euclidean 4 beats to the 7/16th bar with a 1/16th granularity. The only problem with the Euclidean counting rhythm for this piece, this is not what I hear in the music. And lastly, what if I divide a 7/16 bar equally into 4 notes? This gives a drunken feel and is definitely not in line with the feel of the drum part, nor the melodic parts. So this counting method was well and truly discarded. So in summary, you feel 7/16 and don't try and count it. But if you must, slow it down and count what the drum and melodic parts feel like. The instrument choice for 4 and a bit was rather sparse: piano, bass and drums. Even though the instrument choice was inspired from listening to drum and bass genre, my son tells me it's not drum and bass genre. Okay, fair enough. The drum section provides the feel and mood and the timing guide, whereas the bass and piano provide the harmony. Both the piano and bass take their equal share of melody. A call and answer style was used between the bass and piano. As I was experimenting with melodic ideas in the session view, I thought it sounded cool to quickly chop between the bass and piano parts, where the bass plays part of its theme, gets cut short, then the piano does the same. The chops or cuts were not placed at whole 7/16 bar intervals, that would be too boring, rather portions of the 7/16. So time signature sequences with a mixture of 3/4, 4/4, 2/4 and 7/16 were used. The piano has a left-hand riff progressing through chords F7, G minor over B flat bass, C, B flat, sus, flat 5. Must admit the left-hand part was recorded separately to the right-hand part, so liberties were taken in what is humanly possible on the left hand. Read as left-hand piano part played by player 1 with 2 hands, right-hand piano lead part played by player 2 on right hand. The right hand plays an improvisation, largely C minor pentatonic. The bass does similar, mostly C minor pentatonic. The bass used is monophonic with portamento between overlapping notes. Not evident in the score, but rather heard in the audio. Scoring the bass was a challenge to keep the portamento effect, and the groove used, the as-played notes did not always fall evenly on the 1/16th note grid. I resorted to obtaining screen grabs of the piano roll from Ableton Live and pasting them into a dummy staff in MuseScore to figure out the transcription, 1 bar at a time. Often the scoring of the bass part was not an exact transcription but gives the intention, taking 1/16th notes as the minimum resolution. Here is a score and audio rolling through. I've been toying with the idea for a long time to take advantage of the graphics capability within Max, the programming arm of Ableton Live, to create animations that are synchronized with the music. I chose to create fractal images. Not having done this before, I browsed through the Max examples and found the Fractal Explorer. Fractal Explorer only shows a static fractal image within Ableton Live. So now I had to figure out a way to enhance it, so all the inputs could be composed much like a music score. There were 8 input parameters. Some I wanted to be triggered by drum beats, others more improvised and fluid. I settled on summing MIDI notes and MIDI continuous controller inputs. So here's the challenge. All but the 2 rotation inputs were general floating point numbers with no real limits. So how do I manipulate and input such numbers in Live, which expects finite minimum and maximum bounds? My engineering background came to the rescue. Scientific notation, mantissa and exponent. The MIDI note's velocity range, 0 to 127, was scaled by its velocity gain, 2 knobs, mantissa and exponent. Velocity was automatically enveloped through an attack, delay, sustain, release mechanism. The continuous controller then had 2 inputs, one for the mantissa and the other for the exponent. Then just sum them up. So a deep dive into Max programming to feed the Ableton Live recorded MIDI messages into the fractal imagery patch. The challenges did not stop there. Having composed the fractal images as they changed in shape live and in time with the music, I needed a way to record this to a movie file. The smallest fractal note duration was a 1/32 note, so I needed a fast frame rate recording capability, and it had to be precisely timed with the audio. My iMac could only record to a file at a frame rate of 10 frames per second, but the 1/32 note duration at 120 BPM demanded rates in the order of 30 to 60 frames per second. So I artificially slowed down the playback rate in Ableton Live to 20 BPM, recording at 10 frames per second to the file, then sped up the slow motion back in real time to the video editor, DaVinci Resolve in my case. Hope you enjoy the result.